Okay, topic 4, let's talk briefly about the relationship between student loans and credit. First of all, guys, for the federal Stafford loan, the $40,500 loan, no credit check whatsoever. You basically are going to be able to fill out the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, sign a master promissory note, and get the Stafford loan. No credit check there. However, if you take out a Grad PLUS loan, the lender, the Department of Education, on behalf of the federal government, will do what's really called a credit ready check. They're not going to look at your credit score, but they're checking to be sure that you have that you don't have any 30, 60, 90-day late. So it's somewhat of a soft credit check called a credit ready check for Grad PLUS. Now, if you do a private loan, this is where it gets a bit interesting, because your private lender, they can really look at a number of things. They can certainly look at your credit report, and they're going to see if you have any 30, 60, 90-day lates. They're trying to figure out what your record is of paying any kind of obligations on time. But they may also, and in all likelihood, are going to look at your credit score and or the credit score of any credit-worthy cosigner that you bring on. So much more strict requirements, if you will, when you take out a private loans in terms of credit. I want to briefly talk about something that I'd love it if somebody could come up with a better term for this, but I actually call it the double whammy when you talk about student loans and credit. You may have seen this pie chart provided by our friends at myfico.com. If you go to that site and look under credit education, you'll see this. This is a visual of what contributes to your credit score, and you'll notice I've got highlighted in red payment history of 35%. Your takeaway from this slide is that of all the things influencing your credit score, your payment history is running away the most important. So what does that have to do with what I call the double whammy? Well, here's what I mean by that. First of all, guys, you borrow all this money while you're in dental school, and you just heard that 35% of your credit score comes from paying your obligations on time. Well, it's difficult to use your student loans to improve your credit score while you're in dental school because you're not actively repaying those. You're not going to enter repayment on them until about 6 months after you graduate. So that's kind of whammy number one. You're building up all this student loan debt, but you don't have a chance to show how responsible you are until you're out of school paying these loans back. But that leads to, quote, whammy number two. I mean, I'm a 57-year-old man, and if I fortunately have a good credit history, and if I were late with a payment, let's say I was 30 days late, I'm over-exaggerating a bit here for effect, but my creditor would probably go, he's old, he forgot, he's got a really good record, we're not going to really nail him too bad because he's got a really long history. Many of you, not all of you, but many of you listening to this presentation, you're much younger, and you have, in all likelihood, what we call a thin credit file. And what that means is if you have a delinquency of any kind, it can really severely impact your credit because your creditors can't look back at a lengthy history and say, but now we know that this person has a lengthy history of paying. And so, guys, not only do you need to be careful with your budgeting, you need to be sure that any obligations you've got, utilities, any kind of credit cards that hopefully you're paying on time and are going to be paying down, pay those on time and be sure that any student loans you had undergrad or post-bac that you keep those in good standing because a delinquency now can really adversely impact you. Now, there is an argument that says your credit score is really not important until you're about to finance something major like a mortgage, maybe like trying to buy into a practice. So why worry about it now? And while there is some legitimacy to that argument, you may already know that car insurance companies or insurance companies are looking at credit scores to determine what they charge you for car insurance. So guys, I would argue that it's very important for you to understand what your credit is and to be sure that you keep your credit in good shape.